Welcome to Crime Uncovered, where we dive deep into the darkest corners of true crime. Tonight, we uncover the tragic and chilling story of Alisha Bromfield, a young woman whose life was stolen by the obsessive actions of her supervisor, Brian Cooper. Despite her clear rejections and her pregnancy with another man's child, Brian's manipulation escalated into a violent, fatal confrontation after a wedding, leaving a family in devastation. Stay with us as we unravel the shocking details behind this senseless murder. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss a single twist in this haunting story and our subsequent true crime stories. On October 17, 2012, Alisha Bromfield, a 21-year-old college student, was living a life full of promise and determination. Working a part-time job at Home Depot to support herself and her unborn child, Alisha was focused on her future, even if it meant enduring uncomfortable situations at work. One of those situations involved her supervisor, Brian Cooper, a 35-year-old man who had taken a persistent interest in her. Over the course of their interactions, Brian made numerous advances, asking her out on dates, which Alisha politely declined. Despite her rejections, Brian didn't relent. He seemed determined to win her over. Alisha tried to focus on her job, but Brian's unwanted attention and harassment created a hostile environment that Alisha couldn't escape. Alisha found herself facing another struggle when she discovered she was pregnant. The father, a man from her school, had denied responsibility, leaving Alisha to face the future alone. Yet she did her best to remain strong, hoping that the support of her family and her job would carry her through. All the while, Brian's advances continued, even after he knew about her pregnancy. His obsession grew stronger and he became fixated on Alisha, hoping she would eventually relent. The turning point came when Brian invited Alisha to his sister's wedding in Wisconsin, promising that everyone from the family would stay at the same hotel. Reluctantly, Alisha agreed. She was hesitant, but the promise of a family gathering and the chance to get away for a bit seemed like a harmless escape. Upon arriving, however, Alisha was shocked to find that the rest of Brian's family was staying in a different hotel. She was left feeling isolated and humiliated but stayed on, trying to make the best of it. Later, after the wedding, Alisha returned to the hotel where she had reluctantly stayed with Brian. Her discomfort was palpable, but she had no choice. Brian had already arranged a room for them. Alone and weary, she tried to get some rest, knowing she would soon return home to her life and responsibilities. But Brian was not finished. He continued to pursue her, asking her out again. When she refused once more, his frustration turned into anger. Brian began drinking heavily, and what had been a subtle manipulation now escalated into violent obsession. As the night progressed, the tension between Brian and Alisha grew. She was simply exhausted, waiting for morning to come so she could leave. But Brian, increasingly erratic from the alcohol, demanded that she accept his advances. Alisha refused, telling him that she wasn't interested and just wanted to sleep. That's when something inside Brian snapped. He had been rejected too many times, humiliated by Alisha's refusal to comply with his desires. In a blind fit of rage, Brian attacked her. He strangled Alisha, the woman he had once hoped to be with his bare hands. Her life was extinguished in a moment of madness, and with it, the life of her unborn child. Alisha's lifeless body was found lying on the bed in the hotel room, her future and her child's future taken in an instant. After the murder, Brian's first instinct was to end his own life. He attempted to drown himself in a nearby lake, but was unsuccessful. The weight of what he had done crashed down on him, and in a frantic state he called 911. He reported that he had found Alisha unconscious, his voice calm and almost rehearsed as though he was trying to stage the scene. He claimed to have no idea what had happened, but the truth was becoming increasingly difficult to hide. When the authorities arrived, they found Brian in a state of distress, but his story didn't add up. His version of events was inconsistent with the physical evidence. The police quickly found that there were no signs of a struggle, no defensive wounds on Alisha's body, and no evidence that she had fought back. This raised suspicions that the killing was premeditated, not an impulsive act of self-defense as Brian had claimed. His calmness and his incoherent story only added to the growing suspicion that he had orchestrated the murder. Brian Cooper's first trial began in 2014. The evidence against him was damning, and he initially confessed to the crime, yet his defense team argued that he had acted out of temporary insanity brought on by intoxication and rejection. The jury was unable to come to a unanimous decision, leading to a hung jury. The first trial ended in a mistrial, and the case was set for retrial. In the second trial, which took place in 2016, the prosecution presented a stronger case. They detailed Brian's obsessive behavior, the repeated rejections he had faced, and the chilling manipulation that led to Alisha's murder. The forensic evidence, including gunshot residue and toxicology reports, clearly pointed to Brian as the killer. His attempts to feign innocence were dismantled, piece by piece. The defense's claim that Brian had been temporarily insane due to his intoxication was thoroughly rejected. The second trial ended with Brian Cooper being found guilty of first-degree murder and the death of Alisha Bromfield and her unborn child. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The finality of the verdict was a bittersweet relief for Alisha's family, who had been through years of emotional turmoil, hoping for justice for the young woman whose life had been stolen so violently. Alisha's family, devastated by her loss, struggled to cope with the senselessness of the murder. Her mother, in particular, found it impossible to reconcile the vibrant life of her daughter with the cruel way she had been taken from them. They would never forget the woman who had been full of promise, and who had been crushed by the obsession of a man who couldn't take no for an answer. Alisha's story sparked discussions about workplace harassment, obsession, and the dangers of ignoring toxic behavior. It also called attention to the impact of domestic violence and obsession in relationships, especially in situations where one party fails to respect the autonomy and boundaries of the other. For Alisha, it was a life stolen too soon. For Brian, it was the ultimate price for his own unchecked rage and manipulation. And for everyone who knew Alisha, the impact of her tragic death would never fade. This case serves as a stark reminder of the depths of human obsession, the consequences of unchecked violence, and the lives that are forever altered by the actions of one person's inability to let go of their desires. If you found Alisha's story gripping and love to see more true crime stories, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our subsequent posts. Stay tuned for more chilling true crime cases only on Crime Uncovered.